March 9th, 2023. Silicon Valley Bank, a $200 billion institution, lost $42 billion in deposits in a single day. That's 25% of its entire deposit base. Gone in 24 hours. There were no lines at the branches, no shouting, no panic in the streets, just phones, group chats, and wire transfers. By the time regulators arrived on Friday morning, the bank was already dead. If a tweet and a Signal chat can kill a $200 billion bank in 48 hours, what does that say about the safety of your money? To understand what happened, we need to rewind. In the 20th century, a bank run was a physical event. You stood in line, you waited, you reconsidered. The friction of geography and time gave regulators a window, days, sometimes weeks, to organize a rescue. Continental Illinois in 1984 lost 30% of deposits over 10 days. Washington Mutual in 2008, 10% over 16 days. Now look at 2023. Silicon Valley Bank, 25% in one day. Signature Bank, 20% in hours. The velocity of panic has collapsed from weeks to hours. The physical queue, the thing that once slowed the stampede, has been replaced by a tap on a screen. This is what we call Bank Run 2.0, digital, instant, and coordinated. The friction is gone. Only the fragility remains. So why did Silicon Valley Bank collapse? The answer is hidden in something called duration risk. During the pandemic, SVB tripled in size from $71 billion to $211 billion. They stuffed their balance sheet with long-term bonds, safe, boring, government-backed securities. But here's the problem. When interest rates rise, the market value of those bonds falls fast. Between 2022 and 2023, the Federal Reserve raised rates by over 450 basis points, the most aggressive tightening cycle in decades. SVB's bond portfolio, it cratered. They were sitting on $15 billion in unrealized losses, losses that didn't show up on their public balance sheet because of an accounting loophole called held to maturity. Across the entire U.S. banking system, that number was $620 billion. As long as depositors stayed calm, the losses stayed unrealized. But the moment people started pulling money out, SVB had to sell those bonds at a loss. The unrealized became realized. The accounting mirage shattered, and the bank's equity evaporated. March 8th, 2023. A few venture capitalists start talking in a private Signal group. SVB looks shaky. Should we move our deposits? I'm pulling out. You? Within hours, the message spreads. Twitter lights up. The SIVB ticker goes viral. Institutional investors, the ones with billions on deposit, start coordinating. This isn't retail panic. This is institutional coordination. High-status nodes, venture capital firms, startup founders, execute simultaneous wire transfers, not through an app, through the same institutional plumbing that's existed for decades. But this time, it's synchronized. $42 billion. One day, and Silicon Valley Bank wasn't alone. Hours later, Signature Bank, a $110 billion institution in New York, began to collapse under the same digital pressure. But Signature's story was different. They didn't have SVB's bond problem. What they had was a reputational problem. 22% of Signature's deposits were linked to the crypto industry. When Silvergate and FTX collapsed weeks earlier, the narrative contagion spread. CryptoBank became a death sentence. Signature operated a 24/7 digital payment network called Signet. It was designed for speed. Instant settlements. No delays. That speed became a weapon. In a matter of hours, Signature lost 20% of its deposits, over $10 billion, through the very system they built to compete. And here's the critical failure. Signature's internal systems couldn't even track the outflows in real time. The FDIC's postmortem found that management information systems were wholly inadequate. They couldn't provide accurate data to the Federal Reserve during the crisis. They were flying blind while the bank was being emptied. The old economic theory said bank runs were a coordination problem. Depositors panic because they fear others will panic, but they can't actually see what others are doing. That problem is solved now. In a signal chat, you don't have to guess. You can see the consensus forming in real time. You can watch your peers exit. And you can act instantly. The architecture of panic is no longer physical. It's digital, it's networked, and it's fast. So where were the regulators? The Federal Reserve's own postmortem, the Barr Report, is damning. SVB tripled in size without the stress testing required of larger banks. Supervisors saw the problems, but delayed action to gather more evidence. By the time they moved, it was too late. Here's the core problem. The regulatory system is built for a world where bank runs take days, where you have time to organize a buyout, pledge collateral, open the Fed's discount window. But the discount window? It requires manual paperwork, hours of processing. It's 20th century plumbing in a 24/7 digital world. Silicon Valley Bank collapsed faster than regulators could even file the paperwork. And when Signature Bank followed hours later, losing 20% of deposits through its own 24/7 digital network, the Fed had no choice. They invoked the systemic risk exception. Every depositor, insured or not, was made whole. The system was saved. But the message was clear. If you run fast enough, the government will catch you. But invoking the systemic risk exception created a new problem: moral hazard. Here's what that means. The FDIC is funded by insurance premiums from banks. It's designed to protect depositors up to $250,000. But when the government guarantees all deposits, including the billions held by venture capital firms and corporations, it sends a message: if you're big enough and you run fast enough, we'll bail you out. Large institutional depositors now know the playbook. Concentrate your deposits. Stay hyper-connected. And at the first sign of trouble, coordinate an exit. The government will step in to prevent contagion. This isn't speculation. It's what happened. According to the GAO, the cost of guaranteeing uninsured deposits at SVB and Signature was estimated at $22.5 billion. That bill. It's paid by the banking system and ultimately by you. The collapse of Silicon Valley Bank wasn't a black swan. It was a stress test, and the system failed. 4 structural cracks were exposed. 1, the accounting mirage, hundreds of billions in losses hidden in plain sight under held-to-maturity labels. 2, institutional concentration. When 94% of your deposits are uninsured and come from a single, hyper-connected industry, you're not a bank, you're a network node. 3, digital coordination. Private platforms, Signal, Twitter, group chats, have replaced the public square. Financial decisions are now made in real time by high-status networks, invisible to regulators. 4, operational inertia. If the withdraw button is 24/7, the lender of last resort must be too. Right now, it's not. we've built a financial system with the speed of light and the oversight of a ledger book. In the era of Bank Run 2.0, the stability of a $200 billion institution is only as strong as the last message in a venture capitalist's signal group. The friction is gone. Only the fragility remains.